Well, g'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. I'm your host, Rob Malicki, and welcome to this session on the University of Canberra. Today I am on Gadigal land in Sydney, and I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land. This is beautiful country in Sydney, and I'm super grateful for the millennia of careful, methodical care that's been put into this land. So before I get started, I'd like to just tell you what's coming up in the next 20 minutes or so. And if you're joining me live, thank you so much for being here. If you've got questions, make sure you drop them in the chat and I'll do my best to get to them throughout this session. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can ask your questions in the Choosing Your Uni Discord. We've set that up specifically so you, regardless of how specific or personal those questions are or how broad they might be, you can get an answer to your specific and general questions. The Choosing Your Uni Discord, details in the session notes below. So in this session, we're going to be talking about what the University of Canberra is known for, who would do well studying at UC. We're going to hear from some students who've actually studied there, so hear what they actually say about their experience. And we're going to find out about its academic strengths. After that, we're going to go and dive into some of the data, and we're going to look at things like student satisfaction, graduate employment rates and salaries, as well as the global rankings. And I'm going to unpack that for you because there's a lot of hype around data and rankings and the like, a lot of marketing speak. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes to find out which of those metrics should really matter to you and how to look at those metrics. And finally, I'm going to help you build your shortlist of which universities you should be comparing UC against. We're going to do that so you can have an idea about which institutions may be similar to UC in different ways. So before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge our major presenting sponsor, Southern Cross University. This whole virtual expo wouldn't have been possible without them. So a quick word from SCU, and then let's get on to this session on the University of Canberra.
Today's students are tomorrow's front line. Today's visionaries will become tomorrow's leaders. And today's research will discover tomorrow's solutions. For ourselves, for others, and for our world. Southern Cross University, transforming tomorrow.
Here's something that most people don't know. The University of Canberra is ranked in the top 10 in the entire world for reducing inequality. Not the top 10 in Australia, the top 10 on the planet. And that's from the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, which measure how universities contribute to solving real world problems. For a university that most people outside of Canberra haven't spent much time thinking about, that's genuinely a remarkable result. Now, a little bit of a pivot. Who is this university not for though? If you want a massive campus with 50,000 students and a buzz that comes with that kind of scale, sorry, but UC just ain't it. UC has about 10,000 to 11,000 students, and it's compact, it's community sized, and some people may find that that's too small and too quiet. And that's fine. Choosing a university is about knowing yourself and knowing about what you're looking for. And so if that's the kind of experience you're looking for, it might not suit. Likewise, if you're looking for one of those traditional group of 8 prestigious research-intensive universities, the sandstone universities, places like ANU, the University of Sydney, University of Melbourne, well, University of Canberra isn't that either. It's applied, it's practical, and it makes no apology for being career-focused from day one. And Canberra, as a city, might not appeal to you either. It's not Sydney, it's not Melbourne. It's a planned, mid-sized city that has a lot that's just planned around government. Now, some people love that. Honestly, I love Canberra. I think it's an incredible destination. Yeah, it's quiet compared to the big cities. It's got a great outdoor lifestyle and it's got heaps of cultural institutions for you to go and engage with. But if you're looking for that big inner city experience, it's not going to be that experience for you at UC. Now, before we go on, I'd like to give you some context from a student who's actually studied at UC. And you can hear from these students and about their individual experience. Now remember, this is just one experience, but it starts to give you an indication about what students say are some of the strengths of studying at this institution. Let's go and listen to that now.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the atmosphere here.
UC is very calm.
Yeah.
I find UC, it's not, I don't feel it's as intense as other universities maybe.
Yeah.
So UC is very it's very chill and relaxed.
So I find that other unis, like I've been to the Western Sydney University campus in Parramatta, and that one was just very busy 24/7. And then a lot of places like UTS in Sydney and ANU, which is in Civic, all the campuses are just split everywhere, so it's not really that relaxed because you're constantly rushing down different streets to get to different buildings for classes, and I don't really think that would be anywhere near as relaxed or easy to navigate.
Yeah, UC is quite compact and interconnected, so...
And you guys like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Now remember, the National Virtual Expo has a vast array of sessions on all sorts of different things, and you can find out all the details in the session catalogue, details in the description below, or at expo.choosingyouruni.com/sessions. There are 3 things that I think you need to know about the University of Canberra. The first, oh God, sorry, it's built around you getting employed. This is a university that takes work integrated learning really seriously across its programs. So if you're studying teaching, you're in schools. If you're studying nursing or allied health, you're in clinics and hospitals, including the University of Canberra Hospital, which literally sits on campus. If you're in IT, you've got access to the Open Source Institute, which is a partnership between the university and tech company NetApp, plus the ACT government, giving students real industry projects while they study. Even in subjects like business and communication, placements and industry projects are baked into the degree structure. So this isn't a university that's just waiting around until you finish your degree in order to get you into the real world. It starts early and it's embedded into many programs. Secondly, the sport and health ecosystem is genuinely unusual. UC's campus is home to the UC RISE, the Research Institute for Sport and Exercise, which has an environmental chamber that can simulate extreme heat, extreme cold and humidity, and that is used for research into human performance. Professional sporting teams train at UC, including the ACT Brumbies Rugby Union and the University of Canberra Capitals in the Women's National Basketball League. So if you're interested in sports science, in exercise physiology, sports management, or anything in that space, UC punches well above its weight. You're not just studying sport, you're studying alongside elite athletes and researchers who are working in purpose-built facilities. So if sports science is your thing, you may also want to check out because sport and getting into sporting clubs and sporting teams and working in that space can be really challenging. We've got an amazing keynote with Maddie Massey. It's a fireside chat, and she talks about how to build the career of your dreams. She's worked really hard to get into an incredible career, And I think there are some actionable tips in there that'll help you understand the actionable steps that you can take to get yourself into your absolute dream job. Now, third, in relation to Canberra, is its location, being placed in Canberra, because depending on what you want to do, it can be a genuine strategic advantage. Canberra is, of course, Australia's capital. There are federal government agencies, national cultural institutions, embassies, political think tanks. They're all here. So if you're interested in public policy, government, politics, law and justice, studying in Canberra puts you closer to the machinery of Australian democracy than basically anywhere else. And UC leans into this hard. Its Faculty of Business, Government and Law is designed around that proximity. Students get placements and project opportunities with government agencies, much more than students at other universities who simply don't access that sort of stuff as easily. And look, another area of strength in terms of academics is UC's communications area, I think is particularly strong. And if you're interested in business communications and potentially working in government, those are areas that UC is certainly very strong at. If you're interested in how the whole side of HEX works, funding your experience, you can check out our Australian government session on support for university studies. And in terms of managing money, then we've also got a great keynote from Mandy Money on how to manage your finances post-school. Details in the session notes below. So let's get into the academic details. The University of Canberra runs 5 faculties. It's got arts and design, business, government and law, education, health, plus science and technology. It's not a university that's trying to be everything for everyone. The focus is in on those professional degrees that lead to somewhere specific. The health faculty is probably UC's biggest draw card. Nursing, physiotherapy, exercise science, public health, occupational therapy. These are all strong enrolment areas. And they're supported by something most universities can't match, a teaching hospital on campus. The University of Canberra Hospital is a specialist rehabilitation and subacute care facility. Important to note that. So it's not a major hospital with an emergency department, it's subacute. For health students, that means your clinical placements can literally be a 5-minute walk from your lecture. The Health Research Institute runs alongside this, doing applied research in public health, mental health, and health equity. So the people who are teaching you have current research under their belt too. Now, education is another strength of the University of Canberra. UC trains a significant proportion of the ACT's teachers with placement networks embedded across Canberra's school system. The STEM Education Research Centre, SERC, S-E-R-C, does fascinating work on how kids learn spatial thinking and mathematics, including a dedicated lab called the Splat Lab. I think that's an actual name, the Splat Lab, and it means spatial play, learning, and teaching. Splat. So if you're interested in becoming a teacher that actually understands the science of learning, UC takes that very seriously. Now, in environmental science, UC runs the National eDNA Research Centre, which is an environmental DNA facility, and it basically traces the genetic material left behind in water, soil, and air to monitor biodiversity, and to detect invasive species. That might sound really kind of esoteric, really kind of niche, but it's absolutely cutting edge conservation that really interacts with policy applications. So if you're interested in conservation, that's the kind of thing that's a game changer for me and that's really worth looking at. For tech students, we've talked about the Open Source Institute, and it's really worth knowing about. That partnership gives students hands-on experience with open source software projects and data science in a professional setting. If you're exploring these areas, if you're interested in technology and how that interacts with the workforce, we've got awesome sessions from the University of New England that are talking about AI and how it's going to impact the workforce, how you can study with it to get better results, understanding AI safety and AI fundamentals. These are critical skills for you to know for the future, and you can find the details in the session catalogue. Now, I keep coming back to sport because it really is distinctive at UC. The UC RISE program that I was talking about doesn't just study sports science in theory. It's environmental chamber that can simulate different conditions. That's amazing stuff to test how athletes actually perform under stress. It's groundbreaking, cutting edge stuff. Researchers there work on concussion, on injury prevention, and on athlete recovery alongside professional sporting teams. So once again, if sport and exercise is your jive, this is a facility that really puts UC on the map. Now, a quick note on UC and flexibility. UC offers blended and online delivery across a range of programs, and some coursework is available in intensive or block mode. Now, that gives you flexibility in the way that you study your degree. Actually, talking about block mode, we do have a keynote from Southern Cross University on what a block mode is, and specifically SCU's block mode model, but it's fascinating because it'll help you understand just why that mode of studying is so powerful and effective. And it definitely applies in some degree areas at the University of Canberra and the way that those degrees are delivered. Now, one more thing before we move on, you can check out all the sessions at expo.choosingyouruni.com, link in the session details below. And let's take another quick moment to hear from some more students about what it's like studying at the University of Canberra.
Your secret tip or trick for somebody coming to study at UC?
I say when you want to go study for all-nighters, go to the library anytime, like after 5, 6 p.m. That's when everyone goes back home. But when you're on campus, you can go at any time. It's the best time to study because then the library's basically empty, and like they have these groups study rooms. Sometimes I go there with my partner, and we just like book the room for the entire night, and we're just they have really nice couches. Oh, it's so comfortable compared to like studying in my room, because then the bed is there as a temptation. So I'm like, I think my little secret is if you're looking for just a little bit of joy at the end of your day, at around 5, 6 o'clock on campus, so you're walking out of campus class BB1 towards the park or even towards Bill Conan, there are little family of kangaroos that jump across. Just go watch them vibe, watch them frolic. I think that just gives me so much joy when I'm leaving campus, just seeing the little joeys with their mums, just jumping about. Take it in. I think that it's just a sweet little thing for your day. Yeah. But 5, 6 o'clock around the car park, that's what it'll be. Wow, that is some very specific.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
All right, let's have a look at what the numbers actually say. So UC talks a big game when it comes to employability. Does the data actually back that up? In a moment, I'm going to show you exactly where the University of Canberra sits in terms of graduate employment, salaries, student satisfaction, and global rankings. Now, some of those numbers are going to surprise you, and there's one number in particular that tells you a lot about what kind of institution the University of Canberra actually is. Some of the data I'm going to present to you comes from the Australian government data set, the QUILT data set, and we've got a whole session on the QUILT data and the Compare Ed website. You can find that details in the session description, of course. But this data is, it's great data. You can trust it. It's real students talking about their real experiences, real employers giving numbers and talking about graduates. It's genuinely a great resource to help you identify which institutions perform well and to compare them. I'm also going to talk about QS and Times Higher Education Global Rankings. Let's look at student satisfaction to begin with. And at 72.7% on the Student Experience Survey, it's below the national average. And I think it's honest to say that it's not a standout result. For a university that prides itself on being supportive and community oriented, I'd want to see a higher number than that, to be honest. It suggests that there's a gap between what UC is aiming for and what some students are experiencing today. I'll talk a little bit more about that and how to interpret that number in just a moment. Teaching quality follows a similar story. It's a solid but not sector-leading number. The University of Canberra is getting the isn't getting the satisfaction scores that you'd expect from a smaller, more personal institution. But here's where it shifts. Graduate employment. The University of Canberra graduates have a full-time employment rate of, wait for this, 85.3%. That's well above the national average. And it's higher than every single one of the group of 8 universities. Every single one. With one exception, sorry. Look at all that emphasis, one exception. For a mid-range university in Canberra, it's outperforming Australia's most prestigious institutions on a metric that arguably matters the most, whether or not you get a job. So why? Firstly, there's 2 reasons. The work integrated learning aspect that actually connects students to employers before they graduate. And of course, there's Canberra's labour market, which is heavily driven by government and consistently low unemployment. Now, of course, you need to dive into the details here because not every subject area is the same, and how a university performs on one metric, so like you see on overall student satisfaction at 72, 73%, might not be super high, but in individual subject areas, it can perform much, much better. So it's always critical with rankings and research and data to look into the details and make sure that it's actually talking about stuff that's important to you. If the health sciences area is great and that's what you want to study and some other area is not, do you actually care? No, you need to pay attention to the statistics that matter for you. The easiest way to do that, jump on the Choosing Your Uni website, chat with our AI agent about what you're looking for, and it'll find the relevant data for you and actually be able to compare that with other institutions as well. Now let's talk about median graduate salary. And at $71,000, so median is like the middle person graduating, what salary do they make once they get out into the workforce? And at $71,000, that's competitive. It's kind of mid-pack. It's not the highest, but it's also comfortably above the national median. And that's about the Canberra economy. The government and other businesses working in Canberra tend to pay well at entry level. Now let's talk about some context in terms of global rankings. The University of Canberra sits between 450th and 500th in the world in both the QS and the Times Higher Education rankings. In Australia, that makes it 27th in the QS rankings. To be honest, this isn't a headline grabbing number, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But you do need to understand with these global rankings that they do have a specific methodology. They're looking heavily at research output, and international reputation is an important component as well. So of course, UC with its sort of smaller size, its smaller research footprint, isn't going to rank as highly as big famous universities like the Australian National University, University of Melbourne. What isn't reflected in those global rankings, at least the specific headline number, is around the sort of quality of education you'll receive and employment prospects. And that's why that quilt, the Compare Ed data, is really interesting. Once again, you can look at all the details of all of this on the Choosing Your Uni platform. To wrap up, I love this section. I'm going to compare UC with some other institutions because you should never compare one institution in isolation unless like it's really just the absolutely know already that exactly where you want to go. But if that's the case, you're probably not sitting through this session, right? And so obviously, like, let's talk about 3 institutions, at least 3, that would obviously compare against UC, including some that you may not have heard of before or thought of. But first and foremost, the Australian National University, ANU, of course, it's in Canberra. It's the other institution in Canberra, excluding UNSW's Canberra campus. That's another one, but that's a topic for another day. ANU is the obvious comparison point. It's a member of the group of 8, which are the sort of top research institutions in Australia. ANU ranks highly on a global scale. It is the prestige option. But, and this is important, UC beats ANU on graduate employment. And UC's campus culture is very different to the ANU. It's quieter, more chilled out. It's a little bit further from the city centre. So ANU is the choice for you if you want that traditional research university experience. UC is the option if you're thinking about career-focused learning and a tighter community. They're in the same city, but they're genuinely different experiences. We've got a whole session on the ANU, which you can check out as part of the Virtual Expo as well. Another comparison point, now looking further afield, is Deakin University in Victoria. Completely different city altogether, but hear me out on this, because Deakin shares some of UC's DNA in the sense that it's a younger university, very career focused. It's got great student satisfaction scores, where UC perhaps performs a little bit less well. And I think it makes for an interesting comparison point, because in some of the fields of study, it has a very similar footprint to UC. So if I was looking in interstate, but not too far interstate, I'd actually look at somewhere like Deakin. I'd also look at other similar institutions in other cities. So maybe a place like QUT up in Brisbane. Nice warm environment, love it, but a very practical institution, very focused on that industry engagement and getting you in front of employers, and also has an incredible footprint in different fields of study. Whole session on QUT as part of the Virtual Expo. Oh, let me give you one more, and that's Charles Sturt University. Charles Sturt actually does have a campus in Canberra, as does the Australian Catholic University. So excuse me, I've missed a couple of important points there. But we'll get into those individual sessions on Charles Sturt and ACU. Charles Sturt is regional. It's mostly in New South Wales, and it's also built around professional degrees in the areas like teaching, health, policing and agriculture. It also has Australia's highest graduate employment rate, and that's at like 91%. It's huge. So if what attracts you to the University of Canberra is that employment aspect, Charles Sturt takes that model and pushes it even further. Now, of course, it is in regional New South Wales. That might not suit everyone. Canberra strikes that good balance between city and being out in the regions. It's a perfectly sized city. I love it. But if you're looking for somewhere that gives you even more access to the regions, then Charles Sturt is probably worth a look too. Now, I've got a couple of minutes to take questions. I've got some pre-submitted questions that came through after our call out. I'm going to get to those. And then we may have a moment for a question from the chat. But if not, I'll get to those in the Discord. Let's have a look. So, okay, here's a question. UC seems to be overshadowed by the ANU in Canberra. Is there any reason to choose UC over the ANU? And honestly, there are lots of reasons to choose UC over ANU. The first one is that practical element that we're talking about. Looking about getting in with employers, getting practical skills. Because of UC's focus on that employment, practical degrees and the like, those are really good reasons to be able to go and study at UC versus the ANU. Now, also in those different fields of study, stuff like health and education design, UC does generally well. Communication, I think, is particularly strong. And also think about the campus experience you're looking for. UC is chilled out. I mean, chilled out, right? So if you're looking for just an on-campus experience, no pressure, really relaxed, tighter community, then I reckon that's a pretty good reason for it as well. Somebody messaged, this is more of a general question. Is mature age entry harder than coming straight out of school? So a mature age entry is basically for students who aren't going straight from school straight into uni. So it's basically everybody that doesn't take that pathway. If you've taken a 6-month, 12-month break after high school, you're considered a mature age student. And honestly, it's sometimes easier to get into university because there are dedicated entry pathways for going from being a mature age student into uni. Of course, the harder part can be adjusting to studying while juggling other things like family, work or other commitments, depending on what kind of mature age student you actually are. However, what the data shows us is that mature age students consistently outperform students who've gone straight from high school into university. And that's because they're genuinely there by choice. And as a result, they don't take the opportunity for granted. So returning to study is a fantastic option, and nothing gives you the higher potential in your life than doing higher education. People who've studied at university on average earn 54% more than a student that has, or person that hasn't been to university. That metric alone should make you think about returning to university. The other thing is that university opens doors. You get to experience different subject areas. You get to meet different people from all walks of life. And isn't that what life's about? It's being able to see what our options are, see what our choices are, and to be able to choose amongst them. University does that in a way that nothing else really does. I'm out of time. I'm sorry, folks, if you've asked a question in the chat, but I will answer all of those in the Discord community. Make sure you jump in there now. We've got real people in there providing independent advice. And parents, once again, we have our Facebook community as well. The link is in the description below. That concludes our session on the University of Canberra. I'm Rob Malicki, and I look forward to seeing you throughout the virtual expo. Have yourself an awesome day. Take care. Well, I hope you got something out of this session. And if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo. And Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7. So it's ready when you are.